It's just insane that I met the seller at a coffee shop. He kind of asked me what I do in a kind of flirty way, but then I turned it into a listing. But the story doesn't just end there. So busy. I have about 25 follow-up calls. I don't know why I have this many. Usually the beginning of the week I kind of have like most of my follow-up on the beginning of the week. I also wanted to make a YouTube video on the topic of how to stand out as a real estate agent. All right, number one, be yourself. When I first started, I started my YouTube channel. I think that's one of the key reasons that my YouTube channel grows. People are actually seeing me as a brand new agent on YouTube, talking about my journey, the mistakes that I've made. So the same idea is applying to become a real estate agent. You gotta be yourself. Another way to stand out is not to do all the things that other agents are doing. What I tend to do with my social media, well, I have two platforms. One is, you know, a Chinese social media platform, and the other one is the English one. So I'll give you guys like a brief example of like how I stand out on social media. Yesterday was Father's Day, so on my WeChat, a lot of Chinese clients and, you know, Chinese agent, you guys are probably familiar with it. It's like a main communication tool. So on WeChat, instead of posting, you know, like listing stuff, normally I do post listing stuff too. I posted something about my dad, and I told everyone like, you know, how my dad raised me, like how did he make me to go to an English camp to learn English when I was 8 years old. And that way, I started to practice speaking English from 8 years old to 10, and then I went in an English speaking competition. So I was the top 3, you know, when I did the English competition. So I kind of try to tell people like where I came from and a lot of motivational stuff about me as a person. I have a dream and I wanted to be somewhere else, you know, I want to do something big. So that's always been the idea to the backbone of my business, is to show people what kind of person I am. I'm always motivated, I'm always hardworking. You know, as an agent, I'm not here to fail you. I will make sure and guarantee that you have the best service possible. Number 3 is to be professional. What do I mean by being professional on the phone is, for example, when you pick up the phone, you don't just say hello. A lot of professional people, when they pick up the phone, they say, hello, this is Luna. Right? You got to introduce yourself. Even when you're cold calling, you pick up the phone, you introduce who you are, you say the purpose of this phone call is blah blah blah. Every time when I end the video, I will say, okay, I'll talk to you soon. You know, I hang up. And then like, it's just like the little things that I do. I also kind of concluded into my script, how I encounter with different objections with seller or buyer, how do I qualify questions, and during listing presentation, how do I turn the table around? Instead of they asking me questions, I ask them questions to take control of the conversation. Just got ready, I came home, I'm about to go to the gym. So before I go, the last tip I want to give it to you guys is how to handle a proper client relationship. I think that definitely will make you stand out. At the very beginning stage, I was struggling of take care of the situation, especially when it comes with male clients. Sometimes I get people wanting to see or buy a house online, and a lot of them from social media. I wasn't sure how to qualify them, so I had like bad experience with like going out with guys, but then they turned out not to be a legit buyer. Now with 4 years in the business, that rarely happened. So recently I sold a property and I met the seller 2 years ago. That was quite a bit of a strange story that I do want to show you guys, so you can maybe take some insight out of it. Tom is here too, and I don't know if I've told you before, but like 2 years ago, right across from my office, there's a coffee shop. So I met my seller there. At the time, he asked me, he like interrupted me. He's like, what do you do for a living? And I told him, and then he's like, oh, I have a rental property that was like right across the street, not too far away from here, that I want to sell. And then I was like, okay, if you want to talk more about it, you can come to my office and then we can talk about it in a meeting in like an hour. And then he came to my office and then we started talking about the pricing, but at the time it was actually being rented out. So there's a tenant in there, very unrealistic price. So I told him how much I think it's worth. But anyway, he ended up actually listing it with a different agent. So he listed with the agent for about 4 months or so. And then one afternoon, I remember the front desk lady called me saying, hey, Luna, you've got a seller that's waiting at the front desk for you and he wants to, your head is cut off. So your seller wants to meet you and he wants to sell a house with you. I'm like, who's the seller? And then all I remember was the front desk lady saying, oh yeah, your seller was like anxious and he really wants to see a Luna. I'm like, who? So they took the address. So I have his name saved on my phone, like what's the property address? So I actually called him and then I scheduled a phone call meeting with him. Anyway, long story short, I went to the property, I met him. You know, it's just insane that I met the seller at a coffee shop. He kind of asked me what I do in a kind of flirty way, but then I turned it into a listing. But the story doesn't just end there. It wasn't like smooth when I list with him because the price originally was a bit high. So do you remember I had a tough conversation like right there? Because he was upset. He was kind of like we listed a bit high. I already told him the price was high. He wasn't willing to come down the price. But as soon as we did that price drop, I told him how much I think it should be. We got an offer the next day. And then anyway, so the house went in. The house went in pending. Mm-hmm. Remember the day before I told you, I was like, I'm gonna go to closing with my seller. Mm-hmm. And my seller ended up not having a car. So I offered to go pick him up. He was in my car. We went to the closing. He forgot his ID. It was expired. So I had to take him to the DMV all afternoon. I was his private Uber driver. So I told him, I said, hey, like, you know, you better write me a good review. And then he goes, oh yeah, I'll give you a professional review. Besides being the hottest agent in town, you still do an amazing job. See, what I want to say here, guys, I'm not trying to be funny, but what I'm trying to say is, even under the circumstance that it's borderline, I think not okay, I turn it to be okay.
Yeah, I think no matter what you do, having the perseverance to push through tough times and to
yeah, like I wasn't being flirtatious with him, like with my seller, I wasn't. But you know how like old people sometimes they just get like that. He's not that old. He just get like, oh yeah, you're hot. You're that hot realtor. Like at the beginning, I was like, that's not professional at all. I don't want a seller to talk to me like that. If I don't want to take on clients like that. But then after work with him, he doesn't mean any harm. Like, you know, and then at the end when we closed and everything was settled, he even said to me, he was like, don't ever change the way you do business. You're very professional. I'll refer you many, many clients. Remember how he called me at 8 o'clock that night? He's like, I'll refer you a bunch of clients. Yeah,
well, as a woman, a pretty woman, your looks are actually an asset in sales.
Yes and no. It's a distraction too.
Yeah, but more of an asset, and you should use it. You should use
for your own benefit,
as a benefit instead of thinking that it's a detraction.
Well, I thought it was a distraction before.
Well, it can be, but if you use it correctly, it'll help you succeed far more than any. I mean, looks sell. Prettiness and I'm serious. Well,
okay.
Sex sells, you know.
Okay.
Not sex, but you know what I'm saying. Like being pretty, it helps.
Oh my god. Okay.
I actually have a story like that. When I was doing sales, it's a very uncomfortable situation for me.
All right, you really want to share?
Yeah, sure. All right. I was doing sales I was doing door-to-door sales for Verizon, and I knocked on a door, and a homosexual opened the door. Oh. And he was very forward with me, and I remember I was talking to him, and he was always leaning in close and stuff like that. And
I don't know if I'll be okay with that.
It was very uncomfortable for me, but I kept it professional.
Did you just like lean backwards?
Well, I didn't let him, you know, I let him get in a certain space, but not too close, you know? You gotta know the boundaries here. And then when I had them sign the paperwork and all this stuff, I had to go inside the house. And when I went inside the house, he sat on this couch like this, like right next to me. Mm. And I remember he put his hand like under my butt.
What?
So I was like,
are you serious right now?
I'm dead serious,
and
yeah.
Then you didn't get up?
I mean, I was trying to sell the thing.
Oh my god.
I didn't really care that he put his hand there. It's not like he was touching anything. It was a little inappropriate, but it was like...
so he bought it?
Yeah, I sold the thing. But it was about...
Oh man, no. That's too much for me.
Well, yeah, as a woman, that's a little bit different, I think. Like if a man's touching your ass. But like, for me, I don't know. It was,
yeah, that's way too much.
It was a
like,
little...
my seller
like
only said, I'm hot. That's...
He didn't have like a full on. It was like... I don't know, if my butt was here, he had his hand like right here. So he was like, it was like, I don't know. Okay. I probably could have told him to back up, but I was like, I'm selling it and I'm leaving.
I think you should.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a bit too much.
I think if you're a girl, you should. But
oh, it's 100%. Like, honestly, that won't be okay with me.
As a guy, I felt like I could handle the situation.
But anyways, so I hope you guys enjoy those tips. And the last tip is definitely a little bit MIA. Thanks for my special guest. So be sure to like this video. I will talk to you guys in the next one.